There are good reasons why this device has been dubbed as the dad station. Getting a hold of one is one challenge, but finding the time to play, that's another one entirely. So if you're looking for casual pick up and play games that you can bash out in between parenting duties or while lounging on the sofa with the TV on in the background, then this top 5 video is for you. The list is specifically for games that don't require your full attention. They aren't epic story-driven RPGs with long chapters and cutscenes, and they aren't competitive online games. These are games that can be played in your own time, at your own pace, and if you need to stop for whatever reason, then you can. But before we get into the top 5, I have an honourable mention. And the reason that it's an honourable mention is because it's technically DLC for a game that is an epic RPG with lots of cutscenes. Yes, you may have guessed it, it is the Valhalla DLC for God of War Ragnarok. If you've already completed the main story, this free of charge DLC is absolutely perfect to play on the Portal. There are some key storyline moments which should not be missed, so you'll want to make sure that at least for your initial run through to have your sound on. But because it's a roguelike game, you can pretty much endlessly play it, upgrading your gear as you go, and when you finish, you can reset your progress and start over if you wish. I played through the entire DLC on the Portal and thoroughly enjoyed it. So if you have Ragnarok and you haven't yet played Valhalla, it's an absolute must, and the fact that it's completely free is the icing on a very delicious cake. Right, with that out of the way, it's onto the list, and coming in at number 5 is none other than Power Washer Simulator. I know, we've gone from a AAA genre-defining game to Power Washer Simulator, but hear me out. It was included in last month's, that's December's PlayStation Plus collection, which meant that it was free. So I downloaded it and played a few levels via the Portal. And the reason why it's in this top 5 is it doesn't get any more casual than this. The concept is very simple. Objects and places are dirty and you're there to clean them. There are no punishments for taking your time, no countdown timers, no dying. You can put it down without even having to pause it and it will be just fine. It's absolutely the type of game to be played whilst your partner is rewatching Friends for the 100th time. There's no cutting edge graphics, no combat, and the controls are a little clunky. You're essentially summoning your inner Monica and cleaning the hell out of everything in sight. And whilst it's not the most thrilling gaming experience you'll ever have, there is something quite relaxing about it, and you do get a little sense of accomplishment when you finally finish power washing that bike or children's playground. As you play through the campaign, you get paid for the cleaning work that you do, which means that you can upgrade your equipment with new power washers, accessories, and cleaning liquids. It's a slow grind, but that seems to be the entire point of the game, to sit back, relax, and switch your mind off for a while. If you added it to your library in December, it's well worth having a blast on, even if it's just to scratch that curiosity itch. At number 4, we have Slay the Spire, the classic roguelike deck building game which was first released on the PlayStation 4 back in 2019. It's a turn-based game where the main goal is to ascend the spire, which consists of a series of levels and floors. Each floor is divided into a set number of encounters. You must navigate through these encounters to reach the top and defeat the boss. You start with a basic deck of cards and acquire new cards as you progress through the spire, eventually building a more powerful deck, allowing you to access more difficult encounters, which come with greater rewards. It's a turn-based game with no timer, meaning you can play at your own pace, and much like Power Washer Simulator, you don't need to pause it. Each time you ascend the spire, the game generates a new level layout which adds to the replayability of the game, meaning no two run-throughs are identical. It's a game that I found myself playing more on the Portal than I ever did on the console via the TV. It's a game that you can play for a couple of hours, then forget about for weeks or even months, and still be able to continue where you left off without having to relearn it or rebuild any kind of muscle memory. It's simple but compelling, and it makes for a very solid choice as a game to play on the Portal. At number 3, we have Cities Skylines. Now, I have to admit, I was worried when this first came to console. It's such a great game on PC, and like a lot of mouse-heavy games, I didn't think that it would port over very well. However, much to my surprise, it actually works great, and in early 2023, a remastered version of the game was released for the PlayStation 5. It's a typical city building simulator. You start with a blank canvas and build your city up. As your population increases, you unlock new buildings, services, and all of the problems that come with a growing population. It works really well on the Portal. The screen size isn't as problematic as I thought it might be, and it's certainly not to the point where the game becomes difficult to play or to see what's going on. The snapping of buildings to roads makes construction and zoning placement simple to do. The controls are simple and intuitive in both the main part of the game and all of the menus and reports. Aside from a few disasters here and there, it is a relaxing game to play, and if you want to go full sandbox, you can enable all the cheats in the menu and play with everything already unlocked. The base game of Cities Skylines is pretty cheap. At the time of recording, it's listed on the PlayStation Store at just over £8, but be wary that some of the most fun and interesting content is in the DLCs, of which there are many, the cost of which will soon add up. The number 2 spot goes to none other than Diablo IV, but with a couple of caveats. Firstly, I'd recommend your initial playthrough to be on a big screen, as the story is well worth paying attention to and the FMV sequences are fantastic. It'll be okay on the Portal, but you'll definitely want the sound on, making it a bad choice for playing alongside the TV. The second is that Diablo IV is in a bit of a strange place. It didn't have a fantastic launch, but has been steadily improving over the last 6 months, and at the time of recording this video, Season 2, the Season of Blood, is almost over, with Season 3 soon to be announced. In the late game, gear selection and upgrades remain time consuming to manage, but the early and mid game are great, and there's lots of enjoyment to be had, especially for us filthy casuals. Diablo games are grindfests by nature, making them ideal to play on the Portal whilst chilling on the sofa or in bed. Nightmare dungeons can be completed in 10 minutes or so. There's plenty of seasonal content plus world bosses and events on timers. The controls work really well on console, and although the game can't be paused with it being a live service game, it's easy to teleport back to town with little to no penalty. As far as pick up and play games are concerned, Diablo IV is well worth your time, and I am absolutely certain that it will only get better as future seasons come. And once itemization is reworked, I can see it being a game I spend a great deal of time playing, especially on the Portal. And finally, the number 1 spot for casual games to play on the PlayStation Portal goes to Army of Ruin, which is actually a game that completely passed me by, having been released over a year ago. I only recently discovered it when searching for a possible PlayStation 5 release date for Vampire Survivors, which is one of the best casual games out there. And that is exactly what this is. It's a Vampire Survivors clone, but with nice graphics and an absolute ton of unlockables. If you've never played either, you are in for a treat. Army of Ruin is an auto-shooter roguelite game. You mow down waves and waves of enemies that get stronger and larger in number as time goes on. There are loads of weapons to unlock, each of which can be evolved into more powerful variants with the combination of trinkets and the correct elements. There are 6 characters to play across 5 stages, each of which have 3 levels of difficulty. Things start off slowly but soon start to ramp up. The maps are huge with lots of things to discover that will help you complete the level. There are also a number of challenges to complete that will unlock more weapons and trinkets. It's an offline game, meaning you can pause it, the learning curve is small, and the level of replayability is really high. The controls are extremely simple. You really only have to use the thumbsticks to move and aim, and the cross button to activate your character's special ability, which is on a timer. On the portal, you double tap either the left or right hand side of the screen to bring up the map. Other than that, it's all about thrashing through as many mobs as possible before the boss spawns, at which point you can either kill it or carry on fighting the other mobs, which continue to grow in difficulty, but doing so will help you to complete the optional challenges. As far as I'm concerned, Army of Ruin is a perfect casual game for the portal. It requires just the right amount of concentration to play, the controls are simple, the gameplay is great, it can be paused, put down and picked back up, and it's an absolute pleasure to play. And if that wasn't enough, it'll only cost you £6 for hours and hours of fun. So that's my top 5. Please let me know in the comments if you think I've missed anything. And if you've just picked up a PlayStation Portal and are struggling with lag or disconnections, I have a video on how to optimize your home Wi-Fi that might be helpful. So please feel free to check that out. Thank you for watching, and a special thanks to anybody that has liked, commented or subscribed. It means a lot.